Good morning and welcome back to another edition of SkyTide Digital News. This one's going to be a little bit more of a controversial topic, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because this has to do with Google and its search results being manually manipulated. And I thought this is a pretty important topic to kind of discuss, even though it doesn't go directly with marketing. It does show that there are other forces at play than just algorithms in terms of manual reviews, and how this could be a potential flag or signal that something you might want to look at if you ever see something in the with your website not performing maybe as another one is. So right now what we're looking at here is the Daily Caller. If you don't know, that's a conservative website, and it has exclusive documents detailing Google's new blacklist and shows manipulation of special search results. So what this is basically saying is Google does not manipulate its search results manually, contrary to the company's official denials. Documents obtained exclusively by the Daily Caller indicate. Two official policies, dubbed the misrepresentation policy and the good neighbor policy, inform the company's XPA News blacklist that this is maintained by Google's trust and safety team. TNS will be in charge of updating the blacklist when there is a demand, reads one of the documents shared with the Daily Caller. The deceptive news domain blacklist is going to be used by many features to filter problematic sites that violate the good neighbor and misrepresentation policies, the policy document says. And the document reads that it was approved by Gomes, Nyack, I'm not sure if I'm getting these names right, but Har. And Gomes is the Google head of search, who reports directly to the CEO, Sundar Pichai. I've never actually paid attention to hearing his name out loud, so forgive me if I'm getting that name wrong. So basically what's happening now is that they are actually actively blacklisting conservative websites from the news section of Google. So they're saying that the organic part of it, where if you're typing in something related to the article, what have you, if they do have an organic ranking, it is showing up. But as far as the news section goes, they are manually suppressing those particular websites. Now, which particular websites are we talking about, or conservative news sites? If we go down in here, I do know that they mentioned that the Gateway Pundit is here we go. The Gateway Pundit, the Conservative Tribune, which is a property of the Western Journal, and the website of the American Spectator. So spectator.org, I believe, is the one that they're looking at. And it says, so this is pretty disturbing, because it does mention that there are manually reviews happening, and it really says that right here perfectly, where you can't trust the human judgment of Google's trust and safety team, said the source at Google with knowledge of their practices. These are all political influence or commentary type websites, right? There's you're gonna have your Democratic or left wing type news, and then the way they spin their topics, and then you're gonna have your conservative type ones. The fact that conservative is showing that there is actual proof that those are being manipulated to be shoved down, I think is extremely biased, and that's not the way that we should be running the internet, right? With Google being such a powerhouse and monopoly over the search algorithm, the fact that information can be manually withheld, not by algorithm, what have you, but by somebody's in an internal team who possibly has a biased opinion about the way they are structured the article, I think is extremely unfair, unpatriotic, and definitely cause for concern, especially when you figure this might not be such a big deal today, but this is 2019, and as we get farther along into the election, or a couple more years go by, what else is it going to continue with? You know, it's like the frog in a pot of water. You know, they don't just go and turn it right up to boiling. It's going to continue to keep rising in temperature. So just like with these rules, and just like what they're getting away with now, I see it as a continuous rise, where we continually get comfortable with these little changes they keep making, into suppressing information, and you have other platforms such as like Twitter banning conservatives, Facebook banning conservatives, or even manually flagging their Facebook pages, which I believe is something from Project Veritas, confirmed from documents and internal coding they saw on Facebook's page, where they're able to manually suppress the conservatives' pages from being organically shown on other people's news feeds. And they added with a little tag. I forgot what that was, but definitely we're seeing a lot of these movements happening right now, and it's rather concerning. So I thought this might be a good little news article just to pull up on here and let you guys know about, and see if there's anything more information. They do have an update. It says a Google spokesperson provided the following statement to the Daily Caller after the story was published. We do not manually determine the order of any search result, nor do our algorithms or policies attempt to make any judgment on the political leanings of a website. Our Google News inclusion policies are publicly available online. They provide guidelines on content and behaviors for matters like sponsored content, deceptive practices, and more. The sites that do not adhere to these policies are not eligible to appear on news services or in information boxes in the search. These policies do not impact the way these sites appear in organic blue ink Google search results. Now, this is where I'm seeing an issue, okay? Because they're basically saying that their policies outline clearly why they might be suppressing them manually, not because of their take on it is they're not going after them because they're conservative and suppressing them because of the conservative. They're saying they're suppressing them because of maybe perhaps deceptive behaviors or deceptive news articles. This is where I have a huge issue, because you see places like MSNBC and CNN putting deceptive clickbait titles with articles spun on the left side of it, and they're not suppressing them. Why are they not suppressing them? They are doing the exact same thing. I mean, we just saw that just in the last couple of weeks of how, after the Mueller report came out, how the left narrative was extremely, exaggerated, and now those articles that were coming out day after day after day talking about the Mueller report and collusion and all that other good stuff that was happening, turns out it was all false and a red herring. Now, those to me seem like deceptive news practices, correct? Why wouldn't they be suppressed as well? Is it because their voice is a lot heard, a lot more powerful of a corporation? Is it because they are have to share the same opinions as perhaps the internal Google team does? These are questions that do seem to come up a lot, especially with other news that was in Google. We haven't reported on yet, but this has happened within the last month, I believe it was, where there was some internal meetings that were happening within Google, and specifically talking about the ways they wanted to control the way the politics or the elections happen in the future. Control, I wouldn't say it was control, but to help direct and help diffuse any misleading information. That's basically their take on it. They want to diffuse any misleading information, but who is determining that misleading information? And what other practices they're using in order to count that as a misleading information, right? So this is the same with the Gateway Pundit here and the Conservative Tribune and the Western Journal, as well as the Spectator.org. Now, I'm not sure if there's any other ones on here. These are the ones that we're obviously looking at and that they've mentioned on here. But if we look at their websites, we can see, yes, it's got some... I don't see nothing really different, though, when I'm looking at, like, the Conservative Tribune from when I'm looking at something like CNN or Fox News or any of the other major well-known news organizations out there. MSNBC's website, where their articles and their spin and their commentary is very, very left-leaning, and manipulative, and I just think that they're basically justifying themselves using a rule they've created that they don't enforce on other news agencies. And this is where I think there's a major issue. All right. Anyway, that's all I have for today on this article. If you like what we have to say, we actually come up with other online digital marketing news articles. It's usually what we talk about. I thought this was pretty good because we can actually see that Google is controlling their search algorithms more than just a computer-based algorithm or an AI-type algorithm. So this could spill over into many other markets if it already hasn't, and we just haven't heard the news on it. Who knows? I just thought it was pretty useful for you guys to know about if you haven't already. If you like what you hear, please feel free to subscribe, like the video. That always helps with getting the word out. Since we are just creating this news series, we don't have a lot of new viewers yet. We don't have a lot of subscribers yet, but we're going to keep going at it, and we'll keep building that audience. But we can use your help to get the word out there. Let them know we got some great information here, especially if you're a business owner. We'll be able to share great topics on Facebook advertising, search engine optimization, search engine marketing, Google AdWords, and how to use those correctly for lead generation, branding, you name it. So anyway, I won't take up more of your time. You guys have a great day, and we'll see you next time.